From WCRS Studios in Greenwood, South Carolina, this is Meet Me at the Diner with your host, Ann Eller.
Oh, that's right. It's time for Meet Me at the Diner. And yes, it's me right here, WCRS Ann Eller. Just ready for another afternoon of excitement. It's all about politics, folks, and that's all it's going to really be about for the next 10 days. But after that, you know what? We got to make a decision. Understand there were lines down there at the voter registration this morning. I'll be interested to see how many people actually vote early and continue to vote early. It's an opportunity. And there also was something that came across my desk about some ballot harvesting that was going on down in Marion County. So you probably have that, Daniel Gibson probably has that in his email. So there are going to be, just like we thought, this election is going to be tense and tight, and you need to get out and vote. They do say voting early helps reduce the opportunity for voter fraud. So today, my very big guest, very great to have him on the air with me, is Daniel Gibson. He is from District 12, which is southern part of Greenwood County and McCormick County. He is up for reelection. How are you doing today, Daniel?
Oh, I'm doing great, and thank you for inviting us over. And I do want to talk about the elections and about the voting lines were the same way. I went by the courthouse today, and I was dropped by, actually, to vote. I got tangled up with insurance claims. Right. And they were lined up all the way out the door, over to the sidewalk, and going back up the hill. And I saw a friend of mine. I said, hey, run to the library. Yeah. So if you're out there now and you're trying to get over, right, the library across the street is also a good voting place for you.
Yeah, we actually have the library, the Greenwood Public Library right there. Also, the Little River Multicultural Center, 415 Riley Road, and the 96 Visitor Center over there in 96 are all early voting places. And the polls will be open till 6 o'clock tonight. So you have plenty of time. Do not get discouraged. Let's still go ahead and vote. Right, Daniel?
Oh, yeah. And I tell you, the feeling I'm getting from talking to everybody, people are either angry or excited. And I'd rather vote because I'm excited, but either way, people are turning out to let their voices be heard, and that's incredible.
Right. Well, this is an important election. I think we have stressed that over and over. Let me ask you something. What kind of feedback are you getting from people on your election?
I think we have a lot of positive feedback. I'm doing everything I can. I really thought I worked hard last year, and I still believe that, but people see me on TV or they see me out and they say, man, you look rough. You're dragging. But I'm doing sometimes three events in one day. Mm-hmm. I'm doing 5 and 6 events a week. I mean, in every opportunity that I have to come out, I'm happy to talk with people. I was in line at the DMV today. My car got hit and I had to turn my tag in because they totaled it. And there was a guy standing there. And all I said to him was, don't forget, early voting in Greenwood, go out and vote. I didn't ask him to vote for me. I didn't tell him who I was. Right. He said, I've already voted. He said, who are you? And I told him, he said, actually, I voted for you. So,
that should have made you feel good, right?
Yeah, but he talked for an hour. It's a guy that has moved down here from up north about how much he loves South Carolina. And you and I are always talking about government masters. There is not a better ambassador for South Carolina than Governor Henry McMaster.
Well, I hope you told him. Now. It's okay for them to move down here, but don't try to change us down here.
No, he didn't bring his. He loves it. He loves the Southern hospitality. He was amazed that I just walked up and started talking, and then his wife got a hold of me and fussing about a dog in her yard. And right. I said, I bet you help people with dog problems before. But she said something that and I'm actually going to go by and find with the election commission. She said that she's not from this country, and when she got her citizenship, she was so proud. And I don't remember who it was she went to vote, but anyway, she said she went in to vote and register. Mm-hmm. I offered him her license and this, that, and the other. And the guy said, no, you just need to sign right here, do that.
Ooh,
so I
that's
need to check into that. That scares
bothersome,
me.
Right.
It scares me to death. And if we lose election integrity, and we're already losing the faith, I'm being honest, and
Right.
you know that, of a lot of individuals, man, this country's, we're done. You stick a fork in us, it's over.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think
They'll get to the point that why vote? Why does it matter?
well, I hope that this election, everybody will realize the importance of voting, particularly. I mean, we always talk about, oh, this is the most important election. But I think we are on the precipice of going over the cliff here.
Yeah.
And we need to have everybody vote. You know, you have one vote, and it's a precious, precious vote. So take advantage of it. So you're up for re-election. You went down there, I think if I remember correctly, you got really involved in politics because of the heartbeat bill.
Yeah, that was really people say that was my only issue, and it wasn't, but I was passionate about the fetal heartbeat bill.
Where do you think where we're at with the fetal heartbeat bill, or not law, it's a law here in South Carolina? Where do you feel that it is? It's at 6 weeks with some exceptions allowed, correct?
Yeah, and there's, you and I have talked about this before, a lot of times the opposition party will walk hand in hand, lockstep on everything. They put up 947 amendments trying to stop that bill, and we got it through. Then it was challenged, and the Supreme Court approved it.
Right.
And you and I were talking earlier before we went on the air about me wanting to solidify that. And what I mean by that is, with the exceptions that we have, and the 6 weeks, I don't see any point in trying to change it. If we make any changes to it whatsoever, it's going to go back. They're going to challenge us in court. In the perfect world, in my heart, I would like to see no abortions, but we would have never gotten that through. I've talked to my friends down there. I've talked to some dear friends in Greenwood, and some people want to lower the 6 weeks. Some people want to raise it, but I'm being honest with you and the listeners. We would have never gotten that bill through without putting those exceptions in there. And it's no secret. Everybody knows me that knows this. I'm Pentecostal. I believe life begins at conception. And I've had friends of mine and church folks say, well, I can't believe you would put those exceptions in. But we were losing about 7,200 children in South Carolina. And that number had been drastically reduced by this. And I'm just pleased to be a part of that, along with John McCravey and Billy Garrett, that pushed that through. Would have never happened without John McCravey's pushing so hard. We're all part of the family caucus. But even in the family caucus, we don't vote lockstep. You know, we disagree on some things. But I'm afraid if you try to mess with that law, it's just going to stir it up again. Our opposition loves to bring it up. But to me, it's law in South Carolina, and I'm satisfied with leaving it where it is.
Do you think it's appropriate that the federal government stays out of it and it is a state issue?
To me, it's absolutely a state right, and it always was before Roe versus Wade. And I think it should remain a state issue. I think there's a lot of things the federal government does in our lives that tries to interfere. I just believe it should be a state issue on that one particularly.
So wait a minute. Let's go back and just. So you think the federal government interferes too much with our lives?
Yeah. Every day.
Every day.
Every
Yeah,
day,
I kind of agree with you there too. It seems like this is all we ever get. But so you're satisfied where it's at. Would that put you going more towards a center, or have you had any problem with staunch Republicans who say that's unacceptable?
No, I don't think anything is unacceptable. You sit down and talk about it and do all you can to make those changes. I actually used to think I lean more to the right, but my son is far left. And I tell people he's got two problems. He lived in Portland, Oregon for about 10 years.
Oh, that's
and
a
he's
problem.
a psychology major. So
oh, that's a big problem, yeah.
But no, it's actually good for me to debate because nearly every day, before we leave the driveway and go have breakfast, something will come up. So I've got a lot of experience in debating the issues that I believe strongly about. And but I've learned in being down there and watching other people that I'm really more of a conservative moderate. I'm not far right.
Is that a dirty
anything.
word?
I don't think it is. I think it's a good
Well,
place to be. To me, it's reasonable.
I do. I agree. But I think a lot of people do think if you have to be hard on the left or hard on the right, which is why quite often we don't get things accomplished.
The problem with going, especially I can talk in my mind about going hard left on issues, is just what you said. Well, that's what I believe, and that's it. You know, it's almost like on both sides that people get blinded to reality.
Exactly.
They're just like, this is the way it is, and that's that. Well,
Right.
No, it isn't. And my big thing is when I talk with John or Billy or my friends in the house, they'll say, I can't believe you voted against that. And I say, well, you were just wrong. You know, so it's that simple. But I love the fact that, and I didn't know it as much until I went down there. We was talking about how some folks just stick lockstep. I love the fact that, to me, Republicans are open-minded people. If you're so far right that you're not willing to listen to anybody else, you're not going to be effective, especially in leadership. Mm-hmm. And half the people's going to think you're crazy. You know, they already throw us out there on, we're far right, about to fall off I tell people about to drown in the Atlantic Ocean over there or drown at Myrtle Beach. So we already get accused of that, but I have never seen that as a reality in the House. There are some people that lean further right, and they're a little stiffer in their belief, and sometimes they vote against us or vote with us. You know, it
is
but at
about
the end, it's about doing what's
to,
right for the people,
right?
What's in their best interest. You know.
You know, one of the things that you and I talked about is how a bill actually gets put together. And you and I, in fact, you've got an ad that's going to be coming out talking about how bills actually are because people say they want some action on an item.
Yeah, a lot of them don't know how it's done. When you and I went to school, and you're a chap compared to me, but when we went to school, I remember in my civics class, we studied about how a bill was formed and what it took to make it up. And I was telling somebody about this yesterday. I actually, part of my work, and that was in the 9th grade, was to interview a city councilman. They called him alderman in Anderson at that time. Mm-hmm. And I actually got to go down and I just asked him, so what do you do? You know, and how do you get things done in Anderson County? I've never heard of anybody. My children never once interviewed a politician. And I would be excited to go to a high school or a junior high and let them see in reality how it works. It's a very simple process. You could whiteboard it, you know, right, to show them what happens. But the most important thing is, and this is what people don't realize, is that nearly everything we pass down there comes from constituents. A constituent will call up and say, I'm having a problem with this.
See, now I find that hard to believe because I think y'all are sitting down there just coming up with these things and deciding, we can get the people a little more here.
I call it smoking cigars and wearing funny hats.
Right, there you go.
I don't wear hats. It messes my hair up, and I don't smoke cigars. Yeah. But no, bills are made because people will come to us and say, this is problem. Now, we do get a lot of input sometimes from the agencies, for example, DNR. They will come to us and say, look, we're having problems keeping the population up. And I sit on agriculture and wildlife committees, subcommittee of wildlife. So sometimes the agencies will come to us and say, this is an ongoing problem that we're seeing.
Right.
But we bring it in, and then I won't tell the story. It's long, and it breaks my heart to tell it, about the crabbers that came in trying to fight big industry.
Right.
And, you know, what we had to go through that. And it's funny, you know, everybody thinks we're down there just having a ball and hooping it up, and I'm sitting there with tears in my eyes watching a woman fight for her family's business. Mm-hmm.
Part of the problem between big business and small business. That's what that story has to go with.
Small business gets in their way.
Right. Yes,
it's
exactly.
very simple, very cut and dry.
Right.
It's not a complicated issue.
So bills actually end up coming that. Now, when we talk about what you have done, what are you the proudest that you've done in the last 2 years? I mean, other than the heartbeat bill. Got you there, didn't I? Okay.
I think not even a particular bill or not even a particular law. I remember when people talked about, you know, there's nobody down there but a bunch of old men hanging around. I was at the point in my life where I had the time and I had the means to serve. I've never ran for any office in my life. And that's a big deal. We don't make hardly anything down there. It's $10,400 a year is what we make. So it's certainly nobody down there for the money. Mm-hmm. I don't know anybody down there just doing it because they think they're power hungry or it makes them look good in the community or whatever. The people that I know down there are sincerely willing to serve and willing to be away from their family, not just for the 6 months at a time when we're in session, but right now I'm out of my house more now than I was back then. So I think the thing that I'm the most proud of, other than the fetal heartbeat bill, and that's truly saved lives, is just that I am so blessed that I'm in a position and a place in my life that I have the time to give. And I welcome the input from the constituency on everything. I've had, like I said, I had somebody had a dog on a chain that was threatening to bite his wife. I had a guy called about a bunch of cats. I mean, John said, "Hey, you're not a dog catcher." I said, "Well," but it makes it, if I can make one phone call and help somebody out, and it's amazing how many times people call me that it's a very simple fix. Most of the time, they just want to glean information, or they're hitting a brick wall when they're trying to deal with some agencies. But that's the biggest thing to me, the fact that I'm truly able to help people, in addition to saving thousands of lives. And they say, well, you put a lot on your shoulders. Well, that's okay. We did it,
yeah.
and I'm proud to take credit for that.
Absolutely. Now, we just had a constituent say, can we hear about a bill that passed last season because of contact you had with someone in person, someone that you knew about? That?
Yeah, I have a perfect example of that.
Okay.
And it didn't start with that person, but it developed into something larger. If you're not familiar with it, in South Carolina, a funeral home director has to live 25 miles within the jurisdiction of the funeral home,
right.
of their funeral home. And a gentleman down there that owns several funeral homes was having a hard time getting help, and he actually wanted to raise it to about 50 miles. So I went and talked to him, and I have a friend who owns 2 funeral homes.
Right.
So I called him up and I said, look, I don't know anything about your business, but tell me how this works. The short version is, if he owns a funeral home in Anderson and he owns one in Williamson, he has a hard time getting a director to come in. And every funeral that you have to have a director on site for the funeral. So I said, well, what's the difference if we make it a 50-mile radius or a 75-mile radius? He said, oh, that's huge. People are willing to drive 75 miles to have a job. But the more I investigated it, the real reason they kept that 25-mile limit on there was the big funeral homes, the big boys, could afford to pay somebody $50,000, $60,000, $70,000.
Right.
But the other guys, if you don't have a director that lives in your town, couldn't afford to bring them in out of state. So it's big business, that's the whole thing.
And it was
so
hurting
rather
the
than
small.
raising, so when we talked it over, I talked to another guy that owns a funeral home, and to my friend. I said, 50 is not enough. Let's go 75. How will that work? And they were both tickled to death. So that may seem like it doesn't affect a lot of people, but it does, because we're all going to use those services one day. And you're going to pay for that director either being able to live in your hometown or to drive
be
in.
there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we do things like that a lot, but that was very personal to me because I was actually to reach out to a friend, and he's not even in my district, just to get facts and to get input on how it works.
That's a good story. So, one of the things I know that y'all are talking about is reducing taxes on property taxes.
Yeah, that was actually John McRavy's idea, and he and I have sat down. John and Billy and I are all part of the Greenwood delegation, and we sit down from time to time and just talk over things, or if he comes up with something runs through his mind, he'll text it over to me. The first thing that most people would object to, I think if you paid your taxes all your life, and property taxes, they're very reasonable in South Carolina, but they're still a large part of our income, we just think you deserve a break. So John's number is over 65. I'm for 65 and over, because a lot of people retire at 65. Mm-hmm. So we're working on the numbers, but what we've got to come up with is how we're going to pay for this program. Because the counties won't be receiving that income, and that's something we haven't made a decision on yet, but it's something we're considering, and we would appreciate input from everybody else. Nobody wants taxes. I know you're fired up about this penny sales tax thing. I won't get you wound up on that one, but if you're going to cut a program, and I don't know the numbers, let's say it costs $10, $20, $30 million, whatever it costs, the counties, that money's going to have to come from somewhere. So that's something we're working on that I'm very excited about that.
Well, how about, had y'all thought about just having no income tax and going with a sales tax?
Yeah,
Florida has that. I think Tennessee has that. And I know there's other states too.
I lived in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I'm an advocate for that. And the way we did it in Knoxville, it's awesome. You go in there, you buy your boat, or you buy a car or an airplane, whatever you buy, you pay one time. You deal with it. It's reasonable, and you're through with it. And it's just now the registration. The way they pay for that is higher registration costs. Let's say it's a $30 vehicle down here. You may pay $80 or $90 a year to register it up that. But the way Tennessee pulls it off by not having a state tax is the tourists are paying for it. You know, a lot of tourists, I think.
Well, we have a tourist industry here.
Absolutely.
I mean, Myrtle Beach and, Charleston and the upstate here. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have the mountains, and we have the upstate, and we have the beaches, Hilton Head. And I just got back from Destin, Florida, about a week before the hurricane hit. And when I go to Tennessee or wherever, I never look at my bill. I don't care what it costs. I mean, you look at the bill, it's $200 a night. That's fine. I don't look there and say, oh my God, they charged me $7 for a room tax fee.
Right. Right.
You're going to go anyway.
Right.
And I believe the folks going to Myrtle Beach and Hilton Head and up to the upstate, I don't think you will lose one customer.
I don't think
in South
so
Carolina. People come here for a reason. We have a beautiful state. We've got a lot to offer. I mean, they'll drive all the way from Jersey, or people in Florida, Miami, will drive all the way to Gatlinburg.
Right.
I see these Floridas, I'm like, that's a long drive just to go to the mountain.
What's the possibility of introducing, or where is the possibility of that being looked at by the legislature?
Most of the people that I've talked with in our party, I think, are willing to do something like that. We just got to come up with a plan to make it happen. But I brought it up when I first went down there. I began to speak with John about it and said, this is how we did it in Tennessee, and it works. I don't mind paying a little more, for my vehicles, but it'd be nice not to have that state
it's a
tax.
sales
and
tax,
it makes a
right?
huge difference on your check. And when you get your paycheck every week, I mean, it's a big difference in it.
So I think it's something that y'all should investigate. Now, have you not done something on veterans on taxes?
Have done what on taxes?
Veterans on taxes. Have you not?
Oh, yeah, on the veterans. Yeah, there's a couple of them. Let me grab it. But basically what it does, one of them is on disability. The year, that's already passed. The year that the veteran becomes disabled, if he's a disabled veteran, he foregoes his property taxes for that year. That's something we've already taken care of.
Right.
And I still don't think we do enough. I mean, there should be
aren't
more
you trying
tax
to
incentives.
Aren't we redoing their taxes, their retirement?
On retirement?
On retirement, when they move here to the state, are we not doing something on that, or am I misinformed?
No, you and I talked about that the other day, what they're doing on veterans moving in from the state. We were talking about the burial situation. Is the only thing I'm familiar with that.
Oh, okay.
That we have veterans, if they live outside of South Carolina.
Right.
And the way it came about was a veteran, while he's still living, brought it to our attention that, hey, I lived here for a while and I moved away, and I really count South Carolina my home, and when I'm time for me to be buried, I want to come back home to South Carolina. And so we passed a law that you can come back to South Carolina and we'll take care of your burial plot for you, even though you're not a citizen of South Carolina. If you're a veteran that served this nation, you can come back, and we're honored to have you come back and rest in South Carolina.
Okay. I thought we were, well, anyways. But, another question, though, is how do we finance, if we did it by the sales tax methodology? This is a question from another one of our listeners here today. How strict should counties and cities be in dispersing accommodation and hospitality taxes for tourism-related activities only? Should they be used for the operations of local governments or for local nonprofits?
In my understanding, the way they do it in Tennessee, the money goes back to the states.
Okay.
Those are collected. Now, what some do, and I think they also do this in Tennessee, is a percentage of that. That's something we could look at. Is that the state's going to collect?
Well, how serious are we about doing this and becoming
I'm
like
very serious about it
how
because
Florida and Tennessee and how they do it? I lived in Florida for several years, and it was great. You didn't have any taxes to do. You just paid that sales tax, and you were good.
Yeah. I'm excited about it because it works.
Right.
If it works, let's do it.
Is anybody going to introduce it from our delegation, or do you know?
No, I believe that we can at least get that to committee. That's the first thing we have to do with it is we'll come up with a bill and take it to committee, and I'm very excited about that. But I've been talking about it ever since we've been down there. It just
well, how
we
much
haven't pushed
buy-in
it any
do we
further,
have on that down there? I mean, you said you like to talk. I know you do.
No.
So, so how much buy-in have you got from other legislators?
I probably talked to 7 or 8 about it, and I've never got bad input on it. Everybody said that's a good idea. We know to write all that up, but and everybody has their particular issue that they're concerned about. And you've been down there. You know how it takes a while to get something done. We pushed through over 100 bills and turned it into law in the last session. And I've talked to old timers down there. I said there's times they didn't get 8, 9 bills through a year. So we're getting stuff done at a fast pace, and one thing I give a lot of credit to is Speaker Smith. Man, is incredible. Davy Hyatt, the leader of the Republican caucus, is absolutely amazing on getting things taken care of. A lot of times people will do things to try to stymie the things we're trying to do,
right?
And we know ways to get around that, and I don't care for the grandstanding. You're not going to stop us on the things that we want to do unless you can come up with a good reason. The problem we have is everybody's so locked in on their side, they're not willing to give, so it slows things down for people. And again, the people that suffer are the constituents.
Exactly.
Like a tax situation, you drag that out and drag that out. But anyway, I lived in Tennessee for about 11 years. And I was amazed, first of all, when they didn't take the money out of my paycheck. That was a big deal.
Right.
When I went and paid for my vehicles, I never got another bill.
Right.
That's incredible. And then I began to discover how did they do this? They do have some problems in Tennessee. One huge problem they have is TennCare. It's the state-sponsored health care system. And what people would do, they would move there. If they had a severe illness or whatever, or they needed an operation, they would just move from Georgia or Alabama to Tennessee. And then once they established residency, which was a very short amount of time, then they would apply for it, and the people of Tennessee are paying for that. So TennCare is a big problem up there. I don't know if I've been gone about 15 or 20, I've been gone 20 years now, so I don't know if they're doing any better with it, but it's the first time in my life that I actually voted for a Democrat governor because the Republican governor did such a terrible job with TennCare, and he didn't get elected.
What do you think about expanding Medicaid? That's a big topic of discussion.
A lot of problems, and the reason we don't like doing it in South Carolina is because you're beholden to the federal government. It goes back to states' rights issues. So that's the biggest concern that I've heard about Medicaid.
What do you mean by that?
It's the way the money's generated, the money's funneled, how the money's handled. I understand there's a need for people that need a lot more help than Medicare is doing, but it's still going to be a federal issue for the most part. Now, once we accept those funds, we're going to have to decide, how that's going to be handled. But the thing that I'm hearing from the governor's office is mostly has to do with our obligation in following up on how that money is received. I don't understand it fully.
And how that money is spent. Then they become in charge of. And that's why a lot of nonprofits don't even want to take any federal funding, because all of a sudden they become tied into what the federal government wants.
You're held accountable by them. And, we just want to run things on our own. As I mentioned to the guy that stopped me at the DMV this morning, I was explaining to him how home rule works. I was talking about the governor. The governor doesn't have a tremendous amount of power in South Carolina, and the way our Constitution is written, we rule from the ground up. And I told him, I said, you probably got more power as a board member on the school board on actually getting something done. Since I have been there, and he may do it, but he's never done it to me, I've never had the governor say, come to the caucus, not one time since I've been there, and say, we've got to get this done. This is what I want, bam, bam, bam. It's always handled from the ground up. It comes to committee. It goes to caucus. It goes to committee, and we deal with those issues. I've never one time in 2 years, and I'm being totally honest, and I say that, I emphasize it because people don't believe us. I've never once had the caucus come to me and say, Dan, we need your help on this one. What they will do is say, where do you stand on this? And we're looking at our votes. Before we go to the floor, we won't know, what we're up against. And there's times I don't support it, and there's times I do, and I'll tell them, I can't go along with that.
Now, if I remember correctly, you didn't support the charter school, the school voucher thing.
Originally, I did support the voucher. I think it's a great thing.
Right.
I think the problem is it's not being sold right to the public, or we're missing somewhere on getting the information out to them because they don't understand how it works. But in the beginning, when George Bush started talking about No Child Left Behind, and he started talking about vouchers, his intent was, let's make sure every child is ready to move forward.
Right.
But that turned into no child will be left behind whether they're ready or not. And that is absolutely wrong. I knew a guy when I was in junior high, failed the 5th grade 3 times. Bless his heart. 3 times. How do you do that? I found out later he had gone through a lot of family problems. His parents had gone through a divorce and this, that, and the other. But when there was a stigma held against failure when I was a child. If you fail school, people look down. I'm just going to say it. They look down on you. Like, what's wrong with you? Because it's not that hard. It wasn't for me. I rarely cracked a book, and I did just fine all the way through. But the problem with the voucher system, I strongly supported it. At one time, I may have even been a sponsor and probably took my name off of it, because you can take your name off if something goes wrong. So we're getting ready to vote on the voucher bill, and I'm all for it. And we have a screen, computer screens in front of us, and we can pull bills up and amendments up. And so they were debating amendments, blah, blah, blah. I pulled the bill up, and they had made a change on funding. The way it works, every year was accounted for, and there was going to be a time lapse on it. But I realized that I perceived it to be unlimited funding after a certain amount of time. And I spoke to the young man that sits at the desk beside me, or Mr. Representative Gillum from over on the other side of Lawrence, and I said, I can't vote for this. Look. And he didn't know it either. I said, they've changed. He said, they did something in committee. So somewhere along the line, something went wrong with the financing on it. I caught it. I voted against the bill, and I was there's only one other Republican voted against that bill. And I'm very proud of it. I wouldn't.
Because
I would have
you're
been
proud
wrong.
of it because.
Yeah, but I'm proud that I voted against it because it wasn't right. It was a bad bill. So I don't
Now
want
they
people
did take that to the state Supreme Court, right? And it got turned down.
It also did. So that proves I was right. But didn't it get turned down because of that? It got turned down because it actually passed the House without my vote. The governor signed it, and when it got to the Supreme Court, the complaint was that we can't fund a private institution because part of that funding was could have gone to private schools. Mm-hmm. It could not have gone to charter. But I think the Republicans and the state did a terrible job of selling that. A voucher system is incredible. And what I hear from the people that don't go along with it, from the opposition is, well, because the money does leave the school. Let's say you have a child that's in one school and they go to another one. Mm-hmm. That money doesn't stay with that district. They got to go outside their district. So you're going to be moving some money around. I understand that. But what really doesn't make any sense to me is a lot of the lower income people don't want it. And I don't know why. The opposition party is selling it. Oh, we're all about public education and this, that, and the other. Do
you really think it would hurt public schools? Do you think it would hurt public schools? Do you think it would hurt? In reality,
in my heart, I don't think it will. Because, first of all, very few people are going to apply. The stipulations are you have to move outside. You have to go outside your school district, which I don't like that part of the bill either. I think if you're in a school district and you got two high schools like Greenwood County to choose from, and you don't feel like you're being taken care of here, I think you should be able to, if you were going to Emerald, to switch over to Greenwood High or vice versa. But the way it was written, you had to go outside district. That just doesn't make sense. Have somebody in McCormick County, where are they going to go? They've got to come to Greenwood or Edgefield or Abbeville,
Right.
wherever. And also, it didn't fund charter schools either. So there was a lot of problems with the bill. But the thing that got me the most is I feel like somebody tried to sneak it through with that, with the dollar on it.
Well, I
got excited on that.
yeah, I know you got excited, but these are issues that you deal with. Now, what do you think is going to happen with that bill? Will it be brought back up this session or not?
I think they'll tweak it and find out. I mean, the Supreme Court shut it down, so the first thing they got to do is take out the private schools. But I understand both sides of the story on that. You know, really, we shouldn't be funding. Who decides winners and losers?
Right.
And that's the first thing the public says. Well, y'all can't decide winners and losers. Well, yes, we can. We do it every day. We give tax breaks to BMW. We give tax breaks to organizations coming in. Greenwood County gives tax breaks to Fuji.
And other industries coming in.
And,
yeah.
and where I understand why they do it. But, you know, just with BMW, for an example, I don't remember what the exact numbers were, but let's say we gave BMW a $20 million tax break. Look how long they've been here. How many billions have they put back into South Carolina? Now, my son argues with me about that. He's like, well, you can't pick winners. I said, well, yes, we can. We do it all the time. Oh, and something we just did that's great for that. If you're a heating and air conditioning guy, or you're a small company, or even you, if you decide you want to hire somebody as an apprentice, right now they qualify for some money in South Carolina that you can get as a business owner to help offset the cost of that. So we do things for small business. No one just ever hears about it.
Well, I think that's a problem. I think that's a big problem for as far as that goes. All right, we are going to hear a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back. My very special guest today is Daniel Gibson. He is in the South Carolina House, District 12. And when we come back, if you've got a question, 864-229-7984. That's 864-229-7984. We'll be right back. That's right. We're right back here, WCRS. We can remember stuff right here. That is a problem for doing this for so many years, Daniel. I can remember stuff, and it just amazes me. I'm still asking a lot of the same questions. But anyways, you know, one of the things that I think happened last term was this certificate of need. And a lot of people are concerned about how that will affect the hospital. I know the hospitals were not really for having that changed.
No, they had a fit. To use Southern terminology, they didn't like it at all.
Right.
And
why is it a good thing?
Why is it a good thing for the people of South Carolina?
Yeah, why is it
I think
good
it
thing?
opens up competition and shuts down an opportunity for monopolies. I actually had some hospitals that reached out to me before the vote took place, and they were nice. They're just like, hey, we just want you to hear our side. So I was on the phone for hours with directors of various hospitals, and they would say, well, we need this because we spent so much money. Their side is they spend a lot of money to get this equipment in, and they have to take everybody, whether they have insurance or not. That was their big hang-up.
Right.
And they said if you allow somebody to come in with an MRI machine or doing breast cancer scans or whatever, you're taking away from our competition, and the people that have insurance and the people that have money will go to them, to that service, because they can do it cheaper. Mm-hmm. And he said, and we're stuck with the ones that aren't going to pay us, mm-hmm. which
is that something you had to
doesn't
struggle
weigh with me.
Yeah, okay. That's something you struggled with? No?
No, I thought that didn't make a bit of sense to me. Either we're capitalists or we're not. I mean, to me, if I open up a place that I'm going to do scans for breast cancer, I make that decision to make that,
investment.
Yeah, make that $250,000, $500,000 investment. It's not right for me to say, well, you can't come in. And you can't come in because I'm already here. And the way certificate of need worked, you had to prove that there was a reason,
a need
to
right.
come into that community. So the big hospitals don't like it. They just flat out like it. And I just told them, I spoke with them for hours on end, at several occasions, and they would just say, well, where's it at? I said, it's done. We're going to shut down certificate of need. I haven't met one Republican down there that is in favor of it. I don't know what the final vote is, but to this day still don't know one. But we're capitalists.
Was that faded in? Did they do it over a couple of years or something?
Yeah, they were actually going to have a window,
right.
3 or 4 years or whatever, and that's still in there. They do have some protection. I think it's 3 years, but don't hold me to that. I think it's 3 to 5 years. So they even after
where
we
does that
stopped,
leave the hospital like self-regional? Where does that leave the hospital? Because I know that is one of self-regional's issues that they're going to lose money. Did you ever talk to self-regional?
Well, I talked to people at a lot of different hospitals.
Yeah.
But what they're looking out for their best interests. If they have the only MRI, and I don't know what they have
right.
there, but if they have the only piece of equipment that can offer this service, they don't want anybody else coming in. I wouldn't.
Don't want any competition.
Yeah. I mean, but wouldn't it be nice if you had certificate of need on radio stations? Right now, you're the only station in town.
Right, yeah, okay.
If 5 big stations wanted to roll up in here with 100,000 watts pumping all over to Atlanta or whatever,
right.
Wouldn't you like to have a certificate of need?
Oh, yes. I need
there
it.
You go.
Yeah, there you go.
So you can't have it both ways.
But I know that that's not possible.
But I'm very proud of my vote on that because I stood my ground and I told them on the phone, not to their face, it ain't going to happen. It's that simple. I don't know one person.
Was that a divisive issue between Republicans and Democrats? Or
actually, I don't remember what the Democrats did on that, and really don't care, one way or the other. That never crossed my mind because I don't control what the Democrats do. I don't control what Republicans do, other than sitting down and talking to people and saying this is what I think and this is why I think that. But I
did you ever have a bill
that
really you had to pray about a lot, or really had to, sit there and go, which way should I vote on it?
After I read the bill I made up my mind within 30 seconds.
No, but I don't mean just about that one. Any bill that you've encountered.
There's a lot of bills that you have to really seek direction from the Lord from it. And I won't keep pushing it, but that's the very reason I went down there to start with, and we've talked about that. I won't reiterate it. Was the fetal heart bill? It wasn't me. The Holy Spirit touched my heart and said, "You can do something." And you've been around me long enough to know I'm sincere about it.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of issues that come up that I really don't.
That you struggle with.
It's a tough decision, that you struggle with. But I'm very good at reaching out to both sides. I talk to hospitals. I talk to doctors. I talk to people that wanted to invest in Greenwood and in surrounding areas. There's calls I didn't return from conglomerates. I just told
What
them,
about lobbyists down there in the State House? I mean, you have much dealing with lobbyists? Do you feel
I've never
that...
had a problem with it. And everybody thinks that. They think that the lobbyists run the show. They don't. The Republicans run the show in South Carolina.
In South Carolina.
And if you don't
at
like
this
that,
moment,
then
at this moment, yes.
That's what I told people the other night. I said, if you don't like it, you shouldn't send me and John and Billy down there, because you know who we are, you know what we're going to do, and we're going to do what we say. We're going to stand up and do what we say we're going to do.
Right.
But I've never. Like I said, I've never. A lot of times I don't know what the Democrats. I do know what they do. A lot of times they wait for their leader to vote, and then they vote what he says. That's what they do most of the time.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, anyways, we are right here at WCRS, right here in Greenwood, talking with Daniel Gibson about what's happening right here in Greenwood. I don't know what's going on here. We've got a few more minutes to talk about a few more things. So let's talk some more about some of the things that are happening. What do you think, Daniel? What about DEI?
We took it so far in South Carolina that the Republicans are all on board. As I said, I'm part of the Family Caucus. That's an issue that we're not pleased with, and we've actually threatened funding from a lot of the universities to stop that. To me, DEI is not about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I tell people it's like having a flat tire on your car, and you go out and make the other three flat, so everybody's equal. I'm a commercial pilot, and I don't care what race, creed, color, religion you are. If I'm on a commercial flight and I've got a captain sitting up there, I want the guy that's at the top of his class, the absolute best in the world, flying that airplane.
Right.
And I couldn't care less about what he thinks politically. I couldn't care less about his sexual orientation.
Right.
I want the best of the best up there. And it's the same way with our military. I want the best that we have in the military, too. But
why is it such an issue? Why do you think it's such an issue?
I'm going to give you an honest answer like I always do, because it's divisive. You always got to have a boogeyman, Ann. And if there's not one, somebody will create one. Hate are going to hate. Right. You got to come up with some reason that people should vote for you rather than this man over here. And it happens on both sides, but it's wrong. And you're not serving your constituency, and I wouldn't be serving my conscience if I tried to pull stuff like that. But that's
what about with the colleges and the DEI? Didn't y'all start to take some of the funding away?
Absolutely. And that's one way to get their attention, and they're already starting to flip. You read every day in the paper where industry and big business and universities are changing their mind. They got on the woke boat, and now that boat's going down,
right?
And all of a sudden they want to get off. For the ones that don't want to get off, we will cut your money off. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. Now people say, y'all don't have the power to do this. Y'all don't have the right to do this. It's not me. It's not Billy. It's not John. It's you. It's the constituent. Mm-hmm. We're down there representing your beliefs. And I've had many people tell me, 30, 40 people tell me, we don't like this, we don't like that. We go down there and do something about it. Mm-hmm. We don't just make this stuff up off the top, wake up in the middle of the night, brainstorming.
I think the general consensus is that people get elected and they just go down there and do what they want. That is the general feeling. I mean, well, look at what happens in Congress on the federal level. I mean, we just don't feel. And I think that part of the thing is the closer your representation is to the people, the better possibilities you have. And the people have an obligation to let the representatives know where they stand on the issues.
You answered the question that I was about to answer. It's not on us. It's on you. If you don't call us and you don't email us and you don't come to the rallies.
Do you reach out to people and say, I'm having a problem with this issue. Where do you stand on it? Do you have any people?
On the voucher bill, I had 2 or 3 people that called me and they said, I heard you vote against that. And actually, they were doctors.
Right.
I heard you vote against that. Yes, I did. And I told you before I was going to do it. And this is why I did it. And every single one of them has more respect for me today because I stood my ground. Some of them made contributions, may have made contributions in my campaign. That doesn't matter. When somebody makes a contribution to my campaign, it goes into my account. It goes in a drawer. I have never say, oh, let me see how I need to vote on this. And some people say, yeah, well, that went through his mind. It went through my mind because people think that. And I have never one time made a decision on a bill based on contributions or friendship or because someone else thinks it's the right thing. Another one that really surprised me was the Second Amendment bill, the gun rights bill. I had people on both sides beating me up on that one.
Where did you stand on that one? Where did you stand on that one, just for the record?
I believe in open carry. I believe you have not just open carry, but you have a constitutional right to your Second Amendment to protect yourself. It's that simple. Now, I have a concealed weapons permit. I never open carry. Never. I don't want the bad guy to know who's strapped. I've been in restaurants in this state that if somebody walked in and robbed it, they would never get out the door. I promise you that, because there's so many people. But the people that oppose me, they say, well, you should demand more training. You should do this. You should do that. You make people take a test to drive a boat. Why shouldn't have to take a test to drive a car? Because it's not your constitutional right to drive that boat up and down Lake Greenwood.
Right.
It's your constitutional right to take care of your family, to take care of your private property, to take care of yourself. And if you don't do that, in my mind, you're failing your family, you're failing your state, you're failing yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got into constitutional carry there, too. Okay, well, that's a good one. So as we get ready to wind this up, I know one issue that has been a big issue. It was a big issue in the primary, and you didn't have a primary challenge, so I didn't get to talk to you about it. What about the insurance bill that has to do with the liquor and the exorbitant costs that have been associated with it?
My position on that is, really, we can't just sit down and regulate what the insurance companies are going to charge. So the thing that the Greenwood delegation has been working on, and we've sat down and ran the numbers on this, and we've talked with restaurant owners all over Greenwood, and what we're finding with the is to try to come up with some type of sliding scale to work with the insurance companies to say, okay, obviously if a bar is selling 89% food and 11% alcohol, mm-hmm. they shouldn't have to pay the same rate that a honky-tonk is paying. Mm-hmm. You can tell them from South Carolina that a honky-tonk is paying that's serving 99% alcohol and 1% food, if any.
Right.
I've even knew when I was growing up, there was places that would manipulate their numbers to make that look better on them. That's before it went sky high. But we really can't tell the insurance company you can't do this. Now another thing we can do is lower that $1 million limit. People fuss. They say, well, it used to be $25,000. You've only got $25,000 on your car.
Well, I think all you have to do is look at the Hatfield case, where the business had $25,000 worth of assets, and of course
it's nothing.
It's nothing.
It's
That's
not
nothing.
enough,
Right.
but is $1 million too much? And who decides what is right?
I don't
So
know.
there has to be a formula to me somewhere that we can come up with and sit down with the insurance companies and say, this is outrageous. $1 million is a lot. But I said all that to say this. The person that's responsible is the person that walks up to the bar and sets his butt down and orders the drink. That's the problem we have in America. That's the problem we have in South Carolina. Nobody wants to be held accountable anymore. And I have a lot more respect for somebody that said, I need help. We got programs to help people out there. But in my mind, I am not going to put it all on the barkeep. I'm not going to put it all on the bar. Someone can go out and they could have been to 4 or 5 bars before they come to you. And not everybody's the same. Somebody can have 1 drink and they're sloppy. Mm-hmm. Some people can have 5 or 6 and they're sober as a judge. Mm-hmm. So,
is that an issue that you think will get resolved this year in the House and the Senate?
I think it's going to be a tough one, to be honest with you, to resolve, because it's a complicated issue.
Right.
But I've had a lot of people call about it, and right now we cannot mandate. The only thing we can move is that limit back down, and that all happened before I got there.
Right.
It's just now taking place because the insurance companies are catching up with shooting the rates up.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, I still think personal responsibility is the answer. You can't legislate, but you can't legislate it, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I can't
personal
legislate.
Responsibility. Come on, there, Daniel.
Daniel Gibson sponsored a bill number H2575 that you need to act like a grown man and be responsible.
Yeah. That would be an
and
interesting
you can sponsor
take.
it too.
Right, yeah. That would be an interesting take on the world right now. Well, we have an election coming up in, just a little over 2 weeks. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks till the election. I wanted to give you a couple of minutes to tell the folks why you'd like to go back, and then we'll be finishing up.
Yeah, the reason I want to go back is because I've never been there before, but now that I'm there, I see the difference that a handful of people can make. They really can. I've done everything that I said I would do. The bills that we talked about was the fetal heartbeat. I wanted to do more for education. I want to do from the police department. We got the fetal heartbeat through, fought it hard for 3 years with John down there. With education, we've got pay raises for teachers. We tried to give the voucher bill, which I think can be a good thing, but that didn't happen. Was able to get more money for police departments. I think I got $553,000 from McCormick because they needed a lot of help. Got Greenwood County $130,000 for a tank to do gun testing. Mm-hmm. And what that does is they can get results back faster rather than waiting on the lab in Columbia for 5 or 6 months to get an answer back. I did everything I said I would do. And that's what's important to me about someone running for office, not just that they did what they said they would do, but their accomplishments. And, you and I have gone over them over and over again, all the things that we accomplished down there. And there's a lot of things like limiting catfish in Lake Murray. Nobody cares about that. But if you live on Lake Murray and somebody's coming in taking thousands of your catfish a day, you care about that. So we do a lot of things that people will never even know about. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm a good representative for Greenwood County. I will tell you what I think. You're not going to like it all the time, but you will absolutely have no doubt in your mind where I stand. And you've known me long enough. You may have had some opinions when you first met me, but you've known me long enough that I do what I say I'm going to do. And you have no idea, you don't have any hesitation over where I stand on issues.
That's true. But it's not just Greenwood County, is it?
No, it's Greenwood County, McCormick County, and that's another thing that's so important. You're not just sending me down there to make votes for Greenwood County. Every vote I make affects the entire state of South Carolina. That just dawned on me one day. I was sitting on the floor and I thought, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. So you better send somebody down there that's going to stand their ground for you, because when I push that little button, yes or no, you're pushing that button.
Right.
You made that decision. You made the decision to send me down there.
Now, Daniel, if somebody wants to talk to you, do you have a telephone number you would give out?
Yeah, they can actually call my personal number. It's 864-396-0245. And I'll also give you my website. They can give me a call. I mean, check it out on the website. My website is sc.gop/Gibson for house. And also, don't forget, tomorrow, I know you've been pushing this. I will be there tomorrow with the Lieutenant Governor from 10 until 4.
She's going to
and
be
John
on the
McCravey
radio.
will be there. Billy Garrett, and also Craig Gagnon is going to be there representing Abbeville. So if you're having problems with FEMA or you're a farmer and you've lost crop or forestry,
That's a good thing just to bring your receipts, bring your insurance policy, bring all this stuff with you, because you get there and you don't have it, then they send you back, and then it's just a back and forth. But I actually, the Lieutenant Governor is going to be on with us at 9:30 tomorrow morning on the radio. So we've got her coming on. Daniel, this is a very important election coming up. I know you want to tell the folks to get out there and vote.
Oh, absolutely. And as I said earlier, go ahead and vote early, because you never know what happens. I mean, you may be decided you're going to wait till November the 5th. Some people just like that.
Right.
But your car may break down. You may have a flat tire. You may have a bad hair day. So
That's a bad hair day.
I'm actually getting
Can't
better.
go to the polls today. I've got a bad hair day. I like that one, Daniel.
But I'm actually enjoying getting out and going early, and I did it last year. I didn't vote this morning. I was running around fighting insurance companies just like you do.
Right.
And let me give you some advice.
Right.
Negotiate with your insurance company. You don't have to let them run the show. You have a voice. So,
Right.
So talk with your insurance companies, and I think everybody should leave happy.
Absolutely. And I know the power companies are going to be out there. A lot of companies, they've tried to make this really tomorrow's event out there at the Medford Center, really try to make it a one-stop shop for people so we can get on with the recovery. Daniel, I know you worked very, very hard during this period, helping people, getting information out there, coming on the radio here, and we need to thank you, because I know that was something that nobody anticipated at the time.
Oh, I never saw it coming. I've been through hurricanes, tornadoes. I've been through a lot. And they always oversell them, right?
Right.
This time I think
I
don't know if they undersold it or I just misinterpreted.
Yeah.
And don't forget, thank everybody. I know you've done this about the barbecue. Thank you for showing up. This is the second one I've done, Ann. No, the third. And there wasn't a dry eye in the house. When you see these guys we show pictures of them when they were 18, 19 years old. Some of them lie about their age to join.
Right, exactly.
And to see them now, they just got a special spirit about them when you look at their smile and look in their face, and it's one of the most beautiful things I think we do.
That's right, and that's why the Hall of Heroes coming up on November 2nd is such an important event, because they bring people that sign up to get honored by the legislature on November 2nd. It's going to be out, new venue, has been in the past at Lander University, is now moved to the Greenwood Performing Arts Center over there at the high school campus, at Greenwood High School campus. That's, again, another thing, yes, where you get to shake the hand, and I know you've been there, where you shake the hand of a veteran that gave their all for our country.
Oh, yeah, and we know they hold 600 people over there, so we'd love to see it filled up.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing, but I said there wasn't a dry eye in the house the other night at the Patriot Barbecue. It's just incredible.
It is incredible. So, Daniel, I think we should wrap it up. I guess you'd like to tell people to vote for you.
Vote for Daniel Gibson. And do it in the morning. If you don't do it in the morning, get it done before November the 5th. If you don't get it done November the 5th, do it that day. And I do appreciate your vote. Like I said, it's not for me. It's for you. You need to send the right people down there. And if you don't, you'll know the difference.
Absolutely, you will. Thank you, Daniel Gibson. He is up for re-election to District 12. That's Southern Greenwood and McCormick. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon again with another interview. Who do I have tomorrow afternoon? I have John McCravey coming on with us tomorrow afternoon. So we're going to be busy these next 2 weeks. The morning show, we're going to be booking some on the morning show too. That is going to do it for us this afternoon. I hope you have a good afternoon, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you on the radio. Daniel Gibson, thank you again.
Thank you.